So July 25th is going to be a very interesting date for both Marvel Studios and the Disney company. This is the very date that the Fantastic Four will debut in theaters, a movie featuring those like Pedro Pascal, Vanessa, Kirby, and Joseph Quinn, etc., etc. We know that there's a lot of things going against this movie. We know that female Silver Surfer, aka Shalla, is not helping. Pedro's politics are also contributing to more actual, disasters for the Disney company. We also know that reshoots are not working well in their favor at all, and even the test screenings, alright? They have had a couple of those for Fantastic Four, all of which have been lackluster so far. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So the Fantastic Four press tour is beginning to ramp up. It's getting there, and we know that the marketing campaign is beginning to settle in for this movie in particular. We know that the toy lineup is also now actually getting a lot of buzz, but a lot of people are beginning to mock those action figures. We'll have a lot more to talk about that in the coming days, but focusing on Pedro Pascal and what he had to deliver about Fantastic Four and what he had to actually confirm about this movie, I think is really going to steer away a lot of Marvel fans, and it really just goes to show you that Disney's going to Disney. There's really no changing that, at least for movies that were in the works in 2024. Now, focusing on all of this, we know that Fantastic Four has other things working against it. We know that they are doing things differently than the traditional comic accurate version of the characters in the story. This is going to be a very much different film, not only visually speaking, but also when it comes to the characteristics of the characters, and we'll have a lot more to talk about that. However, with the Walt Disney Company already in damage control mode over the Fantastic Four and doing everything that they can with reshoots and re-edits to save the film, Pedro is not helping at all in the least with his politics, and now, with recent news he just dropped that will certainly actually drive away Marvel fans. Now, Pedro recently delivered the following. What we did so special with this version of the Fantastic Four is that the wonderful creative team behind this decided, hey, let's bring it to a new universe. This gave us more flexibility to do things differently. Let me reassure everyone that this is not a Reed Richards-centric film. I would absolutely say this is a Sue Storm-centric story, and there are many lessons to be told in this film that I think will inspire many mothers and women that happen to be Marvel fans, or maybe they are now just getting into Marvel, and they will learn the importance of becoming a mother. This isn't just a superhero film, this is a film about family, and so we wanted to do things differently. We wanted to shift away from source material to an extent because this is a different timeline after all. We don't really have to go by the pages or the traditional rules of what the Fantastic Four are supposed to be. I am more than proud to admit that yes, this is a Sue Storm story. Reed is a great supporter of her and is guided by her all the way through, and you will learn exactly why. This is a Sue Storm-centric film because of what she does that is the most important thing in the world that regular women will be able to relate to. Guys, let me just stop right there. I think what Pedro is alluding to at the last bit that I just put out there is that this is going to have a lot to do with basically Vanessa Kirby's character, the Invisible Woman, Sue Storm, giving birth to Franklin Richards. There's no doubt about that. We know that some of the leaks in past months suggested that Franklin Richards will be a big focus in the movie, and obviously, there have been little snippets here and there that confirms that. It goes to show you that basically that's what he's alluding to. And look, we already know that there's going to be a lot of gender politics in this film. Something that now, and just now at the very last minute, Kevin Feige and Bob Iger, they're trying to find a very desperate way to dial that down drastically. That's exactly why there's a lot of reshoots and re-edits for this movie underway still to this very day. And it really just goes to show you that, well, regardless of this movie, it does not seem at all to be a Reed Richards-centric film, as Pedro is actually confirming and pointing out here. Again, we know that this basically is going to be all focused on Sue Storm and Shalla. That's basically what it's going to be all about. We already know that Joseph Quinn's portrayal of Johnny Storm is very off. I don't know about you guys, but based on what he said before in recent weeks about how he doesn't believe that Johnny needs to be the womanizer like the past iterations of Johnny was, such as Chris Evans' character, and Pedro taps into that too. Let's go into this. Now, As for Johnny, he says, Johnny will always be Johnny, but we wanted him to fit with the times. We didn't really want him to be the normal womanizer we saw in the 2000s films, or in the comics. We thought this was a safer way to go for Johnny. If you are expecting anything like Chris Evans did with his role, then don't expect the same because you will be disappointed. Remember, this is a different universe, and there's a reason why Galactus is their first foe in this specific story. As a male feminist, we need more and more female-centric films, especially for a film like Fantastic Four. Getting to work with Vanessa and Julia, he's talking about Julia Garner playing the Silver Surfer, alright, with their roles as Shalla and Sue, it was a dream come true to become part of such a powerful team, both in fiction and in reality. But their concerns come from a very misguided political place when it comes to the critics about what should or should not be in the entertainment, such as movies in this case. It's appalling behavior coming from some Marvel fans that claim to have read through the pages of the comics of the Fantastic Four. So guys, let me stop here for a moment again. The fact that he keeps going on that constant trope, Pedro Pascal, that they are shifting away from source material. This is going to be a Sue Storm-centric movie. It's not going to be all about Reed Richards. Look, we know that even the 2005 and 2007 films were Reed Richards' focus. Heck, even Fan 4 Stick, alright, I will call it that to this very day, alright? But Fan 4 Stick in 2015 was also Reed Richards' focused, alright? But when you look at this is obviously another case of Disney's gonna Disney, and they're gonna go into damage control at last minute, and it's not gonna work well. Or maybe it will, who knows, but I really don't know how they're gonna be able to patch this up in time with less than 2 months to go. And it's gonna be a very interesting ride, so to speak. But overall, he goes on to close, I stand by women's rights, I stand by gender politics, and there are some messages that you will find in this movie related to that which I hope everyone will enjoy, because it is going to be something revolutionary for the Marvel Universe, and how we go into Doomsday. Now look, we already talked about this, but Bob Iger and Kevin Feige, they specifically settled on a lot of multiverse projects because it gives them more flexibility to do what they want. And it's backfiring. It's really not working well at all. What they should have done, they should have just actually done a very comic-accurate version of the Fantastic Four and kept it in the current universe of the MCU or anything like that. Or, at the very minimum, maybe they shouldn't have killed off John Krasinski's version of the Fantastic Four's Reed Richards, and maybe they could have just teased that character without killing him off in Multiverse of Madness, and expanded that character somehow, or use an origin story of that character. So they could have done something like that, but they didn't. And look, at the end of the day, we know that Pedro, I believe a lot of fans will say the same as I do, he's really not all that great of a cast for Reed Richards. I think that they could have done way better. In fact, they had 3, maybe even more than 3 choices before Pedro, and for some reason they settled on Pedro because, well, Pedro is Pedro, right? He gets in everything at this point. He's in Marvel now, he's in Star Wars, he's in The Last of Us, he's in comedy movies, he's in action movies. I mean, he's just everywhere, and people have Pedro fatigue. It's very real. Overall, I would like to hear what you all have to say about all of this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.